totally blind. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In some previous videos we concluded March Madness, and that got me to thinking about a concept in handgun shooting called your natural point of aim. There's a lot of information out there on the web about this kind of topic, but what I'd like to do is take a couple of few short minutes and maybe make it make a little more sense and perhaps a little simpler. I don't normally use lasers for my handguns, but in this case I borrowed one from the Buffalo Trading Company because they can be a very valuable tool. They kind of help you know where things are lining up for you instead of guessing that you didn't move after you do this sort of drill we're going to lead into next. So your natural point of aim simply means what is your skeletal alignment in relationship to the target. It's not always true that if you're completely square with the target and you're doing your weapon presentation that you're actually lined up. You might have to shift your body around in some various ways to line up more naturally onto the target. So your laser will help you know whether you're actually lined up or not. So what I'm going to do is turn around and face downrange. I'm going to keep the slide open on my handgun. It is only filled with snap caps and there won't be any actual live fire for this video. So notice no ears and no eye protection. So let's get started. I have in front of me, roughly 10 feet away, a bad guy target. I do apologize, I was shooting on the target earlier for a different video. But you'll notice as I look down, my toes are lined up directly on the line. I'm square with the target. Target's roughly 10 feet away. Now what I'm going to do is pull out my handgun. Notice I have a laser on it for this, so it'll be easier to kind of tell where the muzzle is actually pointed, and I'm going to put it on the bullseye. And now I'm going to close my eyes, and I'm going to sweep out to the right with my eyes closed, sweep out to the left, and then I'm going to stop when I think I'm square. And you'll notice I stopped a little to the left of the target, or short of the center line. That's nothing unusual for me. And now if you watch my right foot, what I'll typically do is shift my weight onto the back foot, the back right foot, and you'll notice the target comes completely in line. Now, if I close my eyes again and do the same drill, sweep, sweep, hopefully when we come back to the center, we're a little more on the center line as you saw. I must be rocking my hands down, but you can see as a point of aim, I am right down the center line by shifting my body around. I'm going to carefully reholster this so I don't damage the laser. Holster's not designed to have a laser, obviously. Real quick, we need to talk about something else before we go any further. When you're shooting and you're involved in competition or potentially taking classes where you shoot and move, of course you won't be able to get into that perfect body alignment and break the shot. That's all part of learning how this all works when things are less than ideal. However, the more time that you spend in that perfect sort of stance with that proper skeletal alignment, the more accurate your shooting is going to be. And I believe at some point, ultimately it'll be faster because when the gun comes out and you present it properly, it is more down the center line than it would be if you're sort of fighting your own body's mechanics and its unnatural point of aim. If you have a laser, give it a try. It also kind of works with a red dot. You can kind of use the dot as long as you're disciplined and don't move around to figure out where it actually ended up on the target. These, of course, are, as we stated, not the end-all and be-all, and you will have to learn how to shoot out of various body positions, but give this a try. I think if you're struggling a little bit and your shot pattern is always in the same spot, and you're pretty sure you're not mashing the trigger, perhaps subtle changes in your natural point of aim are what you need to correct. Using a dry gun and a laser, we talked about your natural point of aim and why it's important. I would like to expand on a couple of those topics, and we're actually going to shoot the gun with our eyes closed. Before we begin, I can't stress enough how important it is for you to do this safely and very, very controlled. For the first part of the demonstration, I'm going to present the gun onto the target, eyes open, close my eyes, and just manipulate the trigger. This is a good practice to get into, provided you can do it safe and under controlled conditions, to see how well you're actually communicating from your brain to your trigger finger. It's amazing how tight these groups can be as long as you press the trigger smoothly and evenly to the rear. Then what we'll do is progress on to perhaps a blind swordsman drill where we actually fire the gun while our eyes are closed after we get our sweeping done. See whether your natural point of aim is actually working out for you and perhaps the can of the pistol is correct. And then what I'd like to conclude with is actually pulling the gun from retention, eyes closed, and firing it onto the target. I think if we go slow and controlled, and you do everything the way you normally would do it, it's going to hopefully be surprising about how accurately you can shoot the gun. I do not recommend ever using a shot timer for this, and I would certainly not recommend doing it from any sort of concealment system. Make sure things are tucked away, you can get a full firm firing grip on the gun, and as always, make sure your finger is not on the trigger until your sights are on the target. In this case, you won't know that, so it would be hands fully extended. So as we go, I'll be narrating what I think is going on and try to provide some helpful tips that might improve your shooting once your eyes are actually open. I have my Canic Rival, my true everyday carry gun. For this demonstration, I'm going to start with the head. I'm going to load the gun, present the gun onto the target, and once I'm there, I'm going to close my eyes, and I'm going to fire the gun back to square, same aiming point, close eyes. For the third shot, same aiming point, close eyes. Now, I'm going to safely reholster. You can tell, obviously we're at close range, but eyes were closed, pressed the shot, decent group. Now, that's easy because we're in this stagnant position with no movement. You don't have to have any kinesthetic awareness of what's going on. Pretty much if you hold still and you don't smash the trigger, things will work out for you. For the second part of the demonstration, I'm going to sweep my hands left and right, and when I think I'm on the center line of the target, I'm going to press the trigger. This will help you determine if you're actually in a natural point of aim with your body position. Let's see how it goes, and hopefully I won't hit the camera. As we talked before, for me, it's with my right foot slightly back, so I'm going to begin that way, and I'll be trying to shoot the X in the center of the target. So we'll start with the gun lined up, close our eyes, we're going to sweep right, we're going to sweep left, then we're going to come back to the center, press the trigger. In this case, it was slightly to the right, but not too far from the center line. A little bit of a cant issue with the gun, but we'll go back and try it again. Eyes closed, sweep out to the right, sweep out to the left, and when I think I'm centered, that one was too far to the right, so maybe if I kick my foot in a little bit more, because the first one was right as well. Out right, out left, back. So, without gaming the drill, what you actually saw was my right foot was actually too far backwards, and it took my natural point of aim too far to the right. Once I made that correction, you'll notice we threw an almost strike ball right down the middle with just that slight correction. It's an amazing tool to use, and if you've never done this, please try it, but I beg you, make sure it's in a safe, controlled environment. As we stated earlier, for the third part of this demonstration, I'm actually going to pull the gun out of my retention system and fire it onto the target. Once again, safe and controlled is an absolute must. And if I line my feet up correctly and extend properly, I think you'll be surprised, even out of the holster, blind, how close you can come to throwing a pretty good shot. So as we talked about, for me, slight kick to the right foot on the target. Now I'm going to close my eyes. Gun's coming out, extended. Way low. So I have a cant problem. I'm going to reholster. We're in the 7. A little higher on the 8, but notice how much close to the center line we actually are. What I'm going to do next, because the X is kind of such a low sort of position compared to me, I'm going to try to reach out and put one round in the head blind. So it was my more natural point and presentation with the pistol. So one headshot for the conclusion, totally blind. Guns in the holster. Obviously, the camera's caught my low shots, which is kind of a guess when you're this close and trying to shoot a target sort of down in the basement. Once you take that away and you go back to your natural sort of presentation with a flat muzzle coming straight into the line of your eye, not your eye to the gun, you'll notice the result was fairly amazing for not having any sort of eyesight whatsoever. This is all accomplished one simple way, lots of practice with your dry fire presentations, and then eventually gaining the confidence enough to close your eyes and just see what happens. You can do these same drills with your laser and a dry gun. So just because you may not be a fan of the laser, for a relatively low amount of money, you should pick one up if you have a Picatinny rail on your handgun, because it could be a very valuable tool in your dry fire or live fire practice. Once again, thanks everybody for viewing. It's been a real pleasure doing this series of videos with you. Stay tuned next week. We have some more good tips coming, and the history of the .327 Federal Magnum, a bullet I'm really excited about.